Hey, everybody. So I am just checking all my little controls here. It's Karen Hutton, and welcome to my Friday morning live. We do this every Friday. It's my live aimed at photographers and art lovers and, philosophical lovers everywhere. And today I have an incredible special friend coming to join us to chat about, stuff. We're going to talk about, I don't know what we're going to talk about. I have all kinds of questions, but he always has great things to say. Rick Sammon is here, and he has sent his request to jump in here. So I'm going to talk about him to his face. We're just going to go for it. Get him in here to start off this incredible day, and it'll take a second. And hey, Cameron from Scotland, while you guys are popping in here, tell me where you're from. I always call out Cameron because he said I could. He doesn't mind. He's in Scotland. He always tells me the weather there. I love that. And let's see, Rick, I sent you, can you hear me? Can somebody confirm that they can hear me and that our technology is actually happening this morning? And let's just see here what we got going on. And just a second. He is unable to join. Do I need to start this live again? Let's see. I'm going to just check and see. Can everyone hear? If you can hear me, can somebody just pop that in the chat for me? I can't seem to type. Can everyone hear? Because I need to know right now. Oh, you can hear me. Okay, good. So, Rick, if you could not join, why don't you give it another shot? Sometimes this platform can be a little bit quirky. So, good. I'm glad you can hear me. Thank you for confirming that. You're like my ears on the ground, Cameron. Okay, good. So, you guys, tell me where you're from. Where are you joining us from? I don't know why. This just makes my day to know where everyone's coming from. And while you're popping that in the chat, where you're from, anyway, I'll tell you, those of you who are new, I do these lives, they're just informal. I invite friends on and we talk about photography and all kinds of different things. And then, we talk about art, we talk about you name it. I also want to announce that tomorrow, I'm going to be going live from my friend Justin Majeski's new art gallery, Alpenglow Gallery in Truckee, California. We're going to go live because we did that a little while ago. I don't know, 3 weeks ago maybe. I went, not sure what is happening. So let me see if I can invite to join. I've never had to. Oh, there you are. Invite. Let me see if that works. Give that a shot.
That's it.
There we go.
That was it.
It's a quirky, you know what? Technology is just, it's on spit and Band-Aids, I swear.
Okay, my head's cut off.
Yeah, so just pull the camera back or tip it.
Yep.
Yep. It's that. Look at you. There's your face. How are you?
I have type all over my face. Do you have type all over my face?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, because I see everyone's questions and comments over my face.
You can usually scroll it down and then get rid of it that way. Scroll down and then the last scroll will usually drop it out of the out of your face.
No. Go
I am not sure. I'm not sure how to get rid of it otherwise. To be honest with you.
Maybe someone knows.
I don't know. Hey, does anybody out there know how to get rid of the type on his face? Will you be able to ignore it, or is it going to drive you nuts?
Well, I could ignore, but right now, like the type is like going through my eyes, so I can't see my eyes.
Someone says, sorry, see, your face is not covered on my end.
Huh.
I know, isn't this funny? It's like if you're not used to it, it's definitely, it's
What
like,
the heck, right?
what the heck is,
We're here to have fun.
exactly, that's what we're here for.
Which
And
is
that's,
your middle name.
ha, Karen
It
Fun
is. Well,
Hutton.
it's actually awesomeness, fun person, inspirer, chief inspirer,
Oh,
teacher,
purveyor of awesomeness.
uh, excellent educator, married to a great bass player. I could go on
Yes,
and on.
I am married to a great bass player. Someone says move the computer screen up, but he's not on the computer, he's on his phone.
Yeah,
So
I'm
I
on
don't
the
know.
phone.
I don't know. If you can ignore it, your face is not covered on my end.
That's
So
weird.
yeah,
There must be a way to hide the chat.
uh, yeah, I wonder if there is. Let's see.
No,
Comment. No.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know.
As long as,
There's
as long
a,
as I'm the only one, I don't have to see myself. I see myself every day.
there's so many things I just ignore because I don't get it. And
Me too.
I don't know if that's a function of, we've been online for a long time, even though we're old. We've been online for a long time. So it's not like we're not savvy, but they keep
Right.
changing things. And you know how it is after a while, we learn that if you just like ignore it long enough, it'll change anyway. So why learn it?
Well, that happens. That's good advice for a lot of things in life, right, Karen?
Right? I know. It's just, it all
And
just
I
kind
think
of keeps,
and I think today there's a lot of things we should ignore.
oh, honey. I mean, the list is so long. In some ways, it's easier because there's so much to ignore that it just narrows the field on what you should be paying attention to, which, in
Yep.
my opinion, that's the bridge to our conversation. Because, in my opinion, the most important thing to focus on is what makes you happy, what your purpose is, what you love, what light you want to bring to the world, and what amazingness you want to create.
And
Because
cut the noise and cut the chatter.
cut the noise, cut the chatter. It's tremendous. So, yep, we got that right. Yep, yep, yep. So it looks like some of your fans are jumping in here. Hey, where are you guys coming from? I see this is my favorite thing. I love knowing where everybody's coming from, where
It is
everybody's
cool.
at. Yeah, I have a few friends who come from like Dubai and India, and depending. Let's see, what does this say here? So Cameron is he's like my number one on these. He's in Scotland and he like figures all this stuff out and then tells me how to do it. So in the Instagram app, start a live video by going to the stories, select the live option. Yes, yes, yes. We did all that. Yes, we got that. As soon as the video, here's for you. As soon as the video starts, tap on the three vertical dots to the right of the comment box, select turn off commenting. I'm going to leave it on because I want to see questions.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah.
Does
Awesome.
that work? Yeah.
Yeah, for
Perfect.
sure.
Thanks, Cameron. Appreciate it. So Georgia, we got New Jersey. Cameron, you're amazing. Thank you for that. Mojave Desert. Oh my gosh, it must be hot down there. We've got New York City. We've got upstate New York. Where else are y'all coming from? And okay, so I got things I want to talk to you about. I know you got things you want to talk about, and I want to open it up for questions too. So it's always a little bit of a kerfuffle trying to keep track of it all. So as we go along, you guys, you can throw questions into the comments. Virginia, we got Virginia, so we got the United States and Europe covered. Putnam County, Vermont. Oh my God, are the colors turning yet?
Not yet. Well,
Not
maybe
yet.
in Vermont they are, not here.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering up north. I'm in Reno and it's 4,000 feet and some things are starting to turn a little bit. Gilbert, Arizona. Love it, love it, love it. So hi, Rick. We're here. We made it.
Well, we're here, and Susan says hi for your fans out there. They may not know it, but in my house here in Croton-on-Hudson, New York, and now in north of New York City, we actually have the Karen Hutton Suite. I don't invite too many people to my house. I have too many instructors, but I think about 5 years ago we did a workshop here, and I needed an awesome instructor to help me. And Karen volunteered her time, and she came and she was our house guest. And now that room is called the Karen Hutton Suite.
I love that. I love that. I just love
So
it. And I'm going to come back and visit, and I'm going to bring Joe, and you guys are going to play. And yeah, we'll start a band. We'll go on the
Yes.
road. That'll be your next career.
Well, actually, this is my current career. On my website, on the top left, actually the first thing is called, it's called Rick's Music Room. And I have free guitar lessons and I have free piano lessons.
That you give?
Yeah, they're free.
Oh my gosh. I never
Yeah.
actually looked at that part. That's
Well,
amazing. So ricksammon.com, right?
it's ricksammon.com's
Mm-hmm.
Rick's Music Room. And I show people how very quickly, very easily, they can sound good on guitar. For example, just playing like two chords. See, I'm prepared
Oh,
here.
here we go. Music.
Like
I love it.
here's one chord. It's like an E chord.
Uh-huh.
And just move it down 2 frets.
I
And
love it.
I'll take us out on something too. But you know, the thing is, there's so many things, as Joe knows, as you know from living with Joe, and Scott
Mm-hmm.
Kelby knows, so many things that happen in music can be related to photography,
Yep.
right? Like, what
Yep.
is the most important thing in photography? It's not the megapixels. It's not the
Uh-uh.
exposure triangle. It's the, as you know, it's the mood and it's the feeling, the emotion, you
Yeah.
know? So, you know, if you're playing, you know, an E chord, for example, just like, you know, sounds pretty boring, right? But if you put feeling into it, so it's the same thing with music, with photography. When I'm looking at a picture, I say to myself, or if someone shows me a picture, I say, what is the picture saying? What's the mood? What's the feeling? What's the emotion someone's going to get?
Right.
And you know, if it's not there, maybe it's not. It could be a good photo. You know, if it's, you know,
Yeah.
technical shot of a close up of a butterfly's wings. You know, but
Right.
I think it's the mood, it's the feeling. I think so many people today, it's the megapixels, right? It's the
Yeah.
lens, it's all this other stuff. It's focus stacking. In
Yeah.
Photoshop.
Oh my God. It's exhausting. My head hurts sometimes when I listen to it all because you can do it all. By the way, I think Christina Sauer just floated by. I think she just said hello. So I just want to do a little shout out. If that's who I saw just float by. Hi, Christina.
Christina from Kelby One.
Yep. There she is.
She's the best.
And she's
No,
saying,
Eric's the best. No, Scott Kelby's the best. No,
they're all the best. They're just the
that's
best.
what I'm saying. They're
I'm the
all the
best,
best.
best of the best. Anyway, she's saying the same thing with filmmaking and editing. See, because so I'm one of these people who, like, I've been teaching this for a long time. I built, my whole photography retreat thing on that because it's all about finding your artistic voice. But what is that all about? Where does it come from? How can you access it more quickly? What things do you focus on? Because it's all fine and dandy to know that you can do it. Like everybody says, don't think so much. Like they say that to me, and I'm like, shut up, I hate you. Because I can't, how do you stop? Nature abhors a vacuum. So having some kind of understanding, some people just naturally are talented and just don't have filters and they just show up and boom, whatever they do has feeling in it. But one of the things and this is why I talk all these crazy woo woo things all the time because everybody needs a little, different way to think about it. And in my retreats, of course, I could create experiences and give practices, teach them practices and go through like, the morning class practice. Here's what you're going to think about today. Now we're going to go and experience it. So you like build the skill.
Yeah.
But, in this virtual world, I'm like, okay, let's boil it down. And what is it? And so what I'm telling everybody is the reason why this works, because a lot of people don't believe it unless they understand. Hey, Scotland, more from Scotland. I'm just seeing all the places come in. Yay. So as you guys come in, tell us where you're from, because I am watching, even though I'm not always talking. But the thing of it is, because, it works, like, as Christina pointed out, for filmmaking, for photo editing, for music, for everything. But it's easier to grasp in photography, I think. Why? Because we work with light and time. But here's the thing, light is quantum. So the more that's been coming out, it's been out there for a long time if you like to think about those things. But the truth is, quantum is the quantum field, and quantum physics has proven that what happened. Have I told you this one yet? Have I
No,
explained this
but
to you?
I'm enjoying it.
It's really, really interesting because one day I was listening, to some quantum physicists. Don't ask me. Anyway, and it dawned on me Oh my goodness, we have the most brilliant um, medium that we work with, because this in fact does work with everything, but it's more direct with photography, because what they did in these quantum experiments, it's been years, these aren't new, this has been proven for ages. So they do these quantum experiments. I used to live down near the Stanford Accelerator, down in California, where they actually. So I was really aware of these tests, and I was like,
Wow,
what are
that's
they
cool.
doing? Yeah, I was like, what are they doing? What are they experimenting with? What are they looking at? Blah, blah, blah. So I did some learning. So it's not just there, but other quantum experiments where they shoot light particles, right? And
Hmm.
then they do all kinds of experiments. But one of the things they learned that they didn't realize they would learn is that when they shoot these light particles, they were looking at what happens to them, and like they had targets, right? So they were looking at what happened to the targets and the direction and everything about it. What they discovered was that the emotion, thought, feeling, expectation of the people observing completely changed the particle stream. And so all of a sudden they went, oh,
Huh,
the Scooby Doo. And
right.
so right then when I realized that, I was like, well, that's why. That's why when you are really like not thinking too much, that's not so quantum, that's kind of like squeezing the hose. Thinking in brainiac is enough, is its function is to understand a concept, but then you got to go into the feeling of it all, and that's why your feeling and emotion imprints itself in the pixels of your images, because we work with light. But as you pointed out, it also works with music and stuff. But
with
anyway,
with, with
I
everything. I mean, and it also
mhm
works with one thing that I talk about in my seminars is having situational awareness. A
mhm
fighter pilot. I used to teach workshops with this fighter pilot Hal Schmidt, and he talked about an instructor. He talked about situational awareness, that in the cockpit, he has his hand on the stick here, and he has to be aware of everything that's on the stick. He has to be aware of everything that's going on around him,
uh-huh
because if he makes a mistake, if he doesn't have complete situational awareness, it could be trouble. So I think as photographers, we have to have situational awareness, including the effect that we have on other people. You know,
exactly,
like
yes.
as you may know, I love photograph. I tell people, I kid people, I say, they say, what's your specialty? I say, my specialty is not specializing, because I like to do it all.
Yeah.
But I do love photographing people. And when you're photographing people, you have to have situational awareness. You have to know that your mood, your feeling, your body language, your emotion, what you're wearing, right? How close you are to the subject, how this affects the picture.
Yep.
Summing up, Freeman Patterson, fantastic Canadian photographer, has a saying which I use all the time. I give him credit. Says the camera looks both ways. That in picturing the subject, we're picturing a part of ourselves, and it's the
mhm
same thing like with what we're doing here. If you were there and say, "I'm Karen Hutton. I'm interviewing Rick Sammon today, and we're going to talk about photography," my reaction would be totally different, right?
mhm
Right, because you'd be so serious. I know you're serious, but you come across as a fun person, which is key. But anyway,
Gotta have both.
yeah. But anyway, we have to be aware of the effect that we have on other people, and I think in landscape photography too. Your landscape pictures are amazing, and you have situational awareness. You see the light, you see this, and I'm sure that goes down to you. You know exactly where you're stepping. You don't want to step on a flower or a bug, right?
Or off a cliff.
Or off a cliff. Yeah. So, yeah, photography goes way beyond all this other stuff, and I
It
think,
does.
but it's easy for people to get caught up in that. I want the highest megapixel camera. I want this because I like to crop in. Some of your fans may not know this, but I have OCD. Do you know what OCD is?
I do. Well, yeah, I do, but say it, but explain it, because
Yeah,
not everybody does.
I have obsessive cropping disorder.
I
Right?
love that. Yeah.
Because I tell people, think like I suggest. I say, think like a painter.
Yeah.
Painting is additive, right? Painter looks at a canvas and says, what am I going to put on? Photography is subtractive. We say, what are we going to take out, right? So I think this, by cropping gives us a second chance at composition. You're looking around my studio here. Actually, it's the office next to the house, and some people may not like this chair here that's folded up, or they may not like think there's a fan on the floor back there. Whatever. You could crop it to make more interesting composition.
Right.
And so I am really big on looking at the picture and thinking about that photography is subtractive. What am I going to take out? You know, there's an expression, you know.
Well, what are you going to take out in the shot? You mean you're talking about the cropping in camera, framing?
Or just, you know, there's an expression, I'm sure you know, it says every photograph is a lie, right? But no,
I
really,
hadn't heard that. I
yeah,
actually like that.
if I'm this close, you know, you don't know where I am, right? I
Yeah.
can say I'm in Pago in a hotel room, right? So the what's surrounding the subject is just so important to telling the story, to creating that mood, creating the feeling.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it really is. I have a thing related to that for me personally is I don't mind cropping. I have no problem with cropping at all, and I agree with you. And on top of it though, which sounds different, it sounds like it's opposite, but it's not. I really do believe in cropping in camera, getting it,
Yeah.
really taking the time to think about it, getting your whole image in there, because a lot of people just go, "Oh, there's something good. I'll click. I'll figure it out later." But there's a thing that it does in your mind and your consciousness and that whole situational awareness to really, look through there and decide where the that feeling is. And
Well,
that's really important for what it does to your brain.
well, I have a follow-up to that, and it sounds like you follow what I suggest to my students. I have what I call my one picture promise. And
Mm-hmm.
here's my one picture promise. And here's a promise that if you're in a situation and if you say to yourself, okay, I could only use this one composition, like Karen, you were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I could use this one lens. I could use this one aperture, this one shutter speed, this one color balance setting. If I could only take one picture, what would that one picture be? I promise the person that they'll get a higher percentage of well, they'll get a high percentage of keepers, much more creative shot and fewer outtakes. How many people, here's another OCD. I'm sure, I don't know if you've seen this, but I've seen this on my trips to Africa. People have a different type of OCD. It's called obsessive clicking disorder, right?
Yes,
I wonder
I've
if
seen that.
Christina just like the OCD. I wonder if she's like that. But really, it drives me crazy that
Yeah.
we're in Africa and there's these wild dogs, which are really hard to find. It's a great subject. They're the most violent animals in Africa. After the hyenas come in, after everyone comes in, they come in and they eat the bones. There's nothing left. But these dogs will like lying under a tree and someone's taken like 1,000 pictures of them. What happened to the one picture promise?
Right?
And
You
plus,
get so excited.
isn't it more fun?
Spray and pray. Somebody's calling the composition in camera crop
Yeah.
composition Border Patrol. I love that.
Yeah.
Nice one, Rick. That was
Well,
good.
I used to call it Border Patrol, but now I have to change it for, you turn on the TV and you read Border Patrol all the time. So I've changed.
Oh,
I have to come up with another
yeah.
thing.
I hear you on that.
Now, does anyone have any questions? As long as you have the uber talented Karen Houghton here and me here in Croton-on-Hudson, New York, we got who's giving all those hearts? I like seeing all
Oh,
those
people! I
hearts.
know people throw up hearts. They go, "Oh, when you say something cool, you get hearts." So it's like, wow, hearts. I love that. My phone. I look like my whole situation is like sideways or something. I'm adjusting my phone. Well, I had a question a second ago. I forget what it was. I've decided, but I'll think of it. The comment is, I've decided now that I would, if possible, get it right in camera, as sitting behind a computer nowadays isn't so appealing. And that is what started me on that track too. Oh, I know what it was. Limitations. Because, when you talk about cropping, composing in camera, that's a limitation. And then
Mhm.
you said, choose the aperture. If you had one of
Yeah.
all these things, limitations, because that's tremendous for the artistic mind, because it forces you to go deeper. And so I'm a Fujifilm ex-photographer, and you're a Nikon or a Canon Explorer of Light. I did
Canon
all these.
Explorer of Light, actually since 2003. Canon,
Yeah.
well,
Wait,
the only reason I mentioned that is I'm one of the oldest, maybe, yeah. I don't know if I'm the oldest Canon Explorer of Light, but, someone asked me once, how do you get into the Canon Explorers of Light? I said, well, you write 38 books, you'll get in.
yeah, and I've written 43. So
Yeah, 43, yeah.
yeah.
And thank you. You contributed to, I think, the last three.
3? I guess I did, didn't I?
You contributed to phototherapy, motivation, and wisdom. You contributed to Photo Quest, where you talk about finding your artistic voice. And then the current one, which is coming out in October, How to Make Money When You're Sleeping, which is actually the title.
Yeah, I
Right?
love that. I just love that. Yeah.
When you talked about your great work and your success with art storefronts.
Yeah, which is great. Which our storefronts is wonderful. I talk about them, and I talked to everybody about like Smug Mug, art storefronts,
Yeah.
the difference, why we need them both equally for different things, and it's just tremendous. I think they're both the best of the best.
No,
Um,
I think you're the best of the best.
no,
No,
I
and
think
I'll tell
you
you, I was
are.
thinking about this before. I go on Instagram and Facebook and all these other places, and I see people say, I do this, I do that, I like this lens, I do this, and I took this picture this morning, and I did this. But you are about you. Like, you could do this, you could do this. Why don't you try this? So there's actually sometimes I amuse myself. I go through posts where I count the number of eyes that people
Oh,
put.
really? Oh,
Oh,
wow. That
right,
must be
because
educational.
it says, well, it says something, and as you know, and for your listeners who might be and your viewers who may be new to social media, it sounds funny, but one of the most important things about being on social media is listening, and I think you do a good job of that. You listen, and you're not there pontificating about. Even though you're super successful, it's not I. It's
So
you.
boring. I was an actor for many years.
I
You
know.
knew that, right? Yeah. So if you ever want to get with the I crowd, be an actor. And it gets so boring. And by necessity, you have to think about yourself, because every time, if you're voiceover, which I still do, it doesn't matter so much. But when you're on camera, your hair's got to be right. Your makeup's got to be, your skin's got to be good. Everything's got to be good. So you're thinking about yourself all the time, because when you step in front of the camera, boom, it's all got to be right. So you got to get your hair done. You got
Right.
to, and I got so sick of the inward focus that, aside, there were many other things about the acting world I didn't like either, but it was really a relief when I stepped away from it and didn't have to think about myself so much. I got to say, because it's like, okay, I'm really sick of me now. How about you? Enough about me. But we do have a couple questions. So one is, are we amazed by the iPhone 12?
I don't have it, so I can't say.
I have it. Camera's nice. That's all I like about it. That's all I'll say. It pisses me off. It's an annoying phone, but I do love the camera. It is really good. I will say that. And I'm being super opinionated, and now I'm probably going to get blackballed from Instagram. Okay, so favorite lens for travel photography
For me,
for both of us. Let's
I'll
both
let you
answer
go
it.
first. Ladies first.
Well, I like any lens that's going to let me shoot the most and be the lightest, and I don't have to change lenses. So for me personally, in my Fujifilm kit for travel, I really like my XT3 is my body, and then the lens is the 18 to 135. Just kind of does everything for me right now until
18 to 135. If I could
yeah.
only take one lens, it would be the Canon 24 to 105.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. But that's a general lens. When people say, "What's your favorite lens?" and I should have worn I wore this T-shirt for your husband, by the way. It says, "Stress is caused by not playing enough bass guitar."
Oh,
But I have I, I
I
have
love
another
that. I
I have
freaking
another
love that.
I have another T-shirt, and it says on the front and the back, "It depends." Because so many people ask me questions. What's your favorite lens?
Well,
Right?
I always say that too. I'm so glad you do that too, because I always do that. I'm like, I always answer the for what and why.
Right.
What are you
Right.
trying to do?
Yeah. Right. When people say they ask me that. Also, when I was teaching workshops, people would yell out, "Hey, Ricks, what's your ref stop?" I would yell back, "What's your creative vision?" Right.
What brand is your underwear? Oh, that's a good
Right.
one. You can use
Right.
that if
Well,
you
well,
want.
speaking of, it depends. Maybe in a few years. Maybe in a few years. Who knows? But anyway, Karen broke her ankle how many years ago?
My knee, actually, in 2007 or
Okay,
8.
that's cool that you can't even remember, because I broke my ankle in July, as you know, Karen.
I
And
do.
I hopefully someday I can't remember what year I broke it in, but here's why I'm bringing this up. I have all these questions for the doctor, right? And I know what her answer is going to be. So I go to the surgeon 6 weeks after, and I give her an "It Depends" T-shirt. Because when am I going to be able to walk normally? It depends. When is it going to stop hurting? It depends. But this is all kidding aside. The reason I have this shirt is to drive home the point that what one photographer does or recommends is not, hey, got a lot of likes on, a lot of hearts on that one. It really depends on your creative vision.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You may not, in Europe, for example, I knew a photographer in Iceland, and he moved to, I think Romania, I forget where, but he said Ansel Adams is not that popular in Europe. They have their own heroes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who's the most famous photographer? In Europe, it might not be Ansel Adams. It depends. It's the same thing with music, right?
Right.
What's the best way to play an E minor chord? It depends.
Right. So that's why I say, like, this question, which started this whole conversation, favorite lens for travel photography, I always say, if if the goal is to have to never take off my lens and cover the maximum of the things that I love to shoot, then it's the 18 to 135. I'm not saying for anybody else, but that lens did take me from Venice to the Dolomites on my last photo retreat in Italy, and I never had to take it off except for in the mountains, like, the 55 to 200 for some of the mountain shots, but that's it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? When you come back to the Karen Hutton suite here at my house in Cronin,
And I will be back.
I'll wear my "It Depends" T-shirt, and I'll have one made up for you. If ...
Yeah, okay. That's it. If.
And actually, we could go through the workshop without saying anything. We could just point.
Right? We could just point and be.
Right.
Right. Although both of us talk so damn much, I don't know how we'd ever stop doing that, but it might be a good exercise for us. Okay, so here's a question. I'm not criticizing that, because I do it too, which is good. Okay, question. Do you guys follow trends or try and stay true to your own style? You go first, because I went first last time.
Well, I would say I was really into the HDR trend. Remember when HDR was super popular?
You wrote books on it.
I wrote a book, and actually, speaking of that book, sometimes
it was the book.
Pardon?
It was the book. I have that book. I have that ebook.
Well, thank you. I look at that book and I say sometimes in some of the chapters, I say, what was I thinking? But I think don't you think it's good to go back and look at your work?
Yeah.
And reevaluate it?
Well, it's like life. You're not going to get it. It's not going to be, what am I trying to say? It isn't even that you're not going to get it right or get it perfect. It's that if you're living full out, you're making big, bold choices. You're going all the way. You're living for it. And you can't be a chicken butt. That's one of my other quotes, my oft quotes. Don't be a chicken butt. Live life. Do it. Convict. Live your convictions. Write the damn book on HDR, whatever it is. And then later, if you change your mind, so be it. But if you try to play safe so that you never look back and made any mistakes, well, that's boring. I don't even want to live like that. So good for you.
And also, I think it's maybe the person who asked that question might be thinking of, oh, I'd like to be as successful as this person or that person.
Mm-hmm.
So many people spend a lifetime trying to be. I'm sure you know this with your life coach and all this stuff. Don't you find people, Karen, who would spend their life trying to be someone else rather than being them?
Mm-hmm.
You can never be someone else. I'd like to know as much about Photoshop as Scott Kelby in Lightroom, but I'm never going to do that.
No, me neither.
I think, maybe we could just spend a few minutes, I know we're halfway through this, talking about setting goals.
Ooh, let's do that.
This is so important. The reason I have this shirt on is because this is going to relate to photography. For the last 2 years, I played almost exclusively bass guitar after my whole life playing real regular guitar, 6-string guitar and keyboards and stuff. And here's why I switched. I was watching the Santana masterclass. Yeah, have you seen any of the like Annie Leibovitz's masterclass?
Yeah.
Martin Scorsese. The masterclasses are amazing. So I'm watching the Santana masterclass, and I think you should have him on your show because he thinks a lot like you and a lot like us. In this 4-hour class, Carlos Santana never talks about...
You think I should have Carlos Santana on my Friday morning live? You think he would say yes?
He might.
Do Got his email?
No, I don't, but put it out there. But here's
Oh
the
my
thing.
God. Wouldn't that be fun? Okay, go ahead.
Well, he's very spiritual like you, right? I mean,
Yeah.
no, he is. So anyway, in this 4-hour class, he never talks about what note he's playing, what key he's in, uh, and anything technical for 4 hours. He talks about. He says when you're playing guitar, he says you have to make love to the guitar. You have to be one with the guitar. And he goes, I can't paraphrase what I did for 4 hours, but he's really talking about what we started out talking about. The mood and the feeling is the most important thing. And he's talking about how he gets it, and how, as you always talk about how you could do this. He talks about how the viewer could do this. So anyway, I'm watching the thing, and then I realized that I am never going to be able to play guitar like Carlos Santana. However, I can play bass like his bass players. So I set a goal. And your husband will tell you that, the bass lines in Santana songs are relatively easy. For any
Mm-hmm.
musicians out there, it's like the root and the fifth and the third and the seventh, and, some half notes in between. So I reached that goal. So I think it's important in life for us to be, you talked about happiness earlier too. See, I'm listening to every single word you say. I think it's important to set realistic goals. One
Yeah.
of my, let's see if we get any hearts on this one. This is not my expression, but I love it. It's never too late to be who you might have been. Right?
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget who said it, but this is true. It's never. I can't be like the Carlos Santana, but I could be like his bass player. Your viewers out there, they may not get to be a National Geographic photographer, but if they set a goal, hey, maybe I could do a travel story for the local paper. Setting realistic goals is so important in life, and I think maybe happiness isn't the right isn't the right word, or maybe satisfied or content or whatever. But it's easy to get frustrated when we see, especially, I'm sure and getting back to me being one of the oldest Academy Explorers of Light, these young kids come on, and they get so many followers, and hey, wow, look at me, I got so many followers. Not, did you love the picture I took of a Buddhist monk in Cambodia?
Right. I know. And like, what did it mean? What does it mean to you? And how does it make you feel? And, I mean, the art itself, or I know, I know, I know. Don't get me started. The 5-year-olds in the world, not just them. Of course, I always default to technology because I often feel like 5-year-olds are building. It used to be 12-year-olds, now it's 5-year-olds. But I digress. You just touched a nerve when you said that for some reason. Anyway, I totally agree. And see, I was raised setting goals. Just speaking of setting goals, so and I'll bring it back to photography, I promise. But growing up, my dad was one of these people who felt, and this is why I don't like just talking about myself, and I like to frame all the things that I learned in a way that someone else could learn from, because I try so many things. And this is why you're such an amazing teacher too, because you say you specialize in not specializing, but what it means is you have this voracious appetite for life and learning, and you're willing to turn it around into something that someone else could learn from many, many, many different points of view, which is hugely valuable and such a service to humanity and all of us. We've all learned from you, Rick. I mean, I did, certainly did. And
Well,
um, and I just love you for that. But my dad taught us goal setting because he was one of those people too. He would learn, things he thought we might want to learn, and then turn around and teach us. So he learned speed reading. He learned goal setting. He learned salesmanship and negotiation. He knew these things from his life and his work, but he actually took courses so that he could then turn it around and teach us. So at 12 years old, I'm sitting there learning. Was I 12? Yeah, I was 12 years old. Every Sunday we'd have a family meeting, and it might be goal setting. It might be Evelyn Wood's speed reading, which got me through high school. Thanks, Dad. I appreciate that. And uh, and what am I trying to say? The precursor to what, I don't know, NLP, is that neuro linguistic programming, all that stuff. Just how to live life in this, in a nutshell. And he just gave it all back to us. And he said, there's no knowledge worth having that you don't give someone else. He goes, it just isn't worth anything unless you're giving it back.
Ooh, how
So
do I give hearts? I would give hearts to that one. I like that one.
yeah, I know. I heart it myself all the time, and even if people think, "Oh, for God's sake, stick a sock in it," I still feel that even like I always tell my retreat people, I said, "This may not make sense to you now, and you might get sick of me get sick of hearing me say it, but it'll come back to you, and you'll be glad later, because you will be." And they always say, "I heard your voice in my head when I was doing this picture." I'm going, "It's working."
It is working. It sounds like you had a great relationship with your dad. I did too. And, we learned so much. When I think about, the important people in my life,
Mm-hmm.
my father was definitely one of them. I learned so much from him, from being generous.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that was one of the most important things I learned from him, being generous and being kind and photography too.
Yeah. I mean, on Father's Day this year, I did a Father's Day live. One of my Friday lives was I just wanted to talk about my dad because he also loved photography. I was into it, grew up with cameras, but I laid out some of his old photography gear and talked about it and talked about how he helped, with the whole thing. And one of the stories I told was, and this summed up my dad, and this sort of sums up like one of my real takeaways about life that I got from him is that when he was in the Navy, so this would have been during the Korean War, I think. He was an officer. I can't remember his lieutenant. I don't know. I can't remember his, but anyway, he was in charge of this Navy gunner boat, and back in the day, they were required, they had the big mast and there was a light at the top of the mast and it was electric. And they were required. It was a requirement in the military that they had to keep that light on at all times. And if it burned out, they had an electrician. Like this is all the electrician did was all the electrical, right? But it couldn't just be anybody. It had to be the electrician that had to climb up the mast and fix the light. So they were in really heavy seas on the, I don't know, Korean, one of the seas out there by Korea. Huge, the mast is doing
Yeah.
this number. And the electrician was supposed to climb up there. And the electrician tried. He took a couple steps and just freaked out. He just like started shaking and turned white. And he couldn't do it. But he had to do it. And it was Dad's job to make sure it happened. So he said, "All right, we're going to do this together." So there were the big handles, on the mast. He goes, "You get in there and you hold on, you take a step." And he got himself, wrapped himself around the guy, and they walked up the mast to the top together so the guy could fix the light. And then they came down together like one person. And that was how he helped the guy do it. And that pretty much summed up my dad, but it also pretty much summed up his whole philosophy about helping people and about giving what you have and making sure that people succeed.
Well, I'm glad you told me that story for two reasons. One, I got to know your dad, a
Yeah,
little
yeah, he
better.
was
He got to know
amazing.
about his relationship with you. But also, I think I'll preface this by saying something. It's going to sound egotistical, but then I'll explain it. Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. I have no competition. Now that sounds egotistical, right? But
No, yes, I know what you mean. Go ahead.
Right? Karen Hutton has no competition. Scott Kelby, Moose Peterson, all the people who taught at the last Kelby one Photoshop World Conference, right? Mark Heaps. All these people have no competition because people are going to go to them for their personalities, right? Everyone knows, not everyone, most photographers know what I know. They know Photoshop, things like that. And same thing for all these other photographers. So I think they're going to come to us for our personalities, our own little take, like with your retreats. That makes you unique, even though you know about the exposure triangle and all that, and the favorite lenses and all that other stuff. So the point is this. I think if we feel like your father felt, that we're in this together,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And that, if you feel that we're in this together and we're all like collectively trying to help other people, then you wake up being happier every day. You don't say, "Oh my God, this photographer sold this many books. This photographer has a new book, a new Kelby One class, and do this or that." It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We are in this together,
yep,
and I actually, at this point in my life, I love helping people. I love trying to inspire people. Actually, one of my Kelvin One classes is how to get motivated and stay inspired. Because I feel, just like if I had like a $10 guitar here, I wouldn't be as inspired, you know, as I am with this nice guitar. Or
Mm-hmm.
on a beautiful day, I'm more inspired. I'm a sunny person. The weather really affects me, right? So I'm very inspired on a sunny day if I'm walking through the woods, but the opposite can be true too. So anyway, the point is this for your viewers. We just remember we're in this together, and if you start to feel like I have a lot of competition and I have to do what the competition's doing, forget it. You're going to be unhappier, and
Mm-hmm.
you're going to try to be like someone else, and you're never going to attain the status of Karen Hutton.
Well, it's funny because I started this whole live series on Fridays, and I do so many different things. It could be any kind of focus, right? But I decided to make it photographers, but I wasn't going to just only talk about photography. I was going to always weave it back to photography. But I started off, I think the very first one I did was a solo one that I talked about purpose and why it matters. And it doesn't have to be, I've got this purpose. It doesn't have to be like that, because the conversation that starts with purpose goes into what do you love? What do you want people to feel? How do you want to contribute? How do you, like, how do you want to, radiate in the world? And why is that important, not only internally, but to your art, to your life, to your happiness? I mean, it's a huge conversation. So, I do these lives by myself plenty, but I don't know. Then after a while, I got to thinking about my friends and how would this conversation go with them and how are they expressing that? And so when I have people on, and like today, I didn't think I was going to be doing this. This is why I asked you. I asked Rick really last minute, and I was like, I hope you don't think that was any reflection on how much I wanted you on here. It was just like had a whole other plan for today, which got blown out last night, and I was like, I just on a chance, because I was like, who do I really want to talk to? Because I just didn't feel like doing this by myself, and I was like, the only person I feel like sitting down and talking to is you. So that's why I pinged you when I did. I was like, you want to do this? Because I just
Well,
want to
thank you.
talk to you. I
Well,
just
thank you.
really
And I
did.
said yes in a minute, in a second, actually, less than a minute, because when I asked you to contribute to my books and do this, you're right there all the time, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, ditto.
And
You
I
too.
know not everybody is like that. And, there's an expression that if I forget, if you really want to do something, you find the time,
Yeah.
right? And
Exactly.
when I used to work in an advertising agency, and when one of the people who worked for me said, "Oh, I don't have the time to do that," I have an example if you want to hear. I used
Yeah.
to be the editor, and your viewers may like this. In 1978, I was the editor. Before some of your viewers were probably born, I was the editor of a magazine called Studio. Oh, if I could find the cover, I was the. Let me keep talking. I was the editor of a magazine called Studio Photography. I don't have the cover here. Too bad.
I love how you have all your stuff just right
No,
there.
no. Well, the thing is, I tell this story a lot. Anyway, on the so I'm the editor. And I love being the editor. So the boss comes in and he says, "Salmon, I need you to do this." I said, "Mr. Mashke, I don't have time to do it. I'm working on editing this piece." He says, "Salmon, who's the most beautiful girl in the world?" Well, we had just had Jacqueline Smith. Remember Charlie's Angels was on
Yep.
in the set. She still is beautiful, but she was really beautiful back then. We had just had her on the cover. So I said, he said, "Who's the most beautiful girl in the world?" I said, "Jacqueline Smith." He said, "Salmon, if Jacqueline Smith called you up right now and wanted to have lunch with you for 20 minutes downstairs at the coffee shop, would you do it?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Get to work." So in other words, right, I said I didn't have time to do what he wanted me to do, but I had time to have lunch with Jacqueline Smith.
Right.
If That's why I try to respond, and I think it's important for people today to respond to what people are saying and requests, and to keep in mind that we are in this together. Also,
Yeah.
I don't want to turn my phone around, but I have a sign over my desk, and this is another thing that people might want to think about. I'll tone it. You know Jay Maisel, right?
Yeah.
And you know his style of speaking. Sometimes he uses expletives, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to tone this, and I love him. I'm going to tone this down. So the sign over my desk reads, I'm going to tone it down. Don't believe your own PR, or don't believe your own BS. So
Right.
what I'm saying is this: you could be on social media and have like 100,000 followers or 50,000 or whatever. But when you start to think you're famous, when you start to believe your own BS, this is when you're going to get into trouble, because if Scott Kelby and I, and you and Moose Peterson and a bunch of the Eric Kuna, a bunch of the and Christina from Kelby, if
Mm-hmm.
you all walk down Times Square, not too many people would recognize us. Who the hell are we, right?
I know.
So you can't believe your own BS. It's very easy. And I complimented my son on this. My son, he got his PhD in finance this year, and he landed a job as a Harvard as a professor at Harvard Business School.
That's
And
incredible. God,
oh,
yeah.
it's incredible. I mean,
Wow.
6 years to get his PhD in finance. So anyway, he got his PhD. He got one of the top jobs in the world. Yet he plays this game, Magic the Gathering. He goes bike riding. He goes exercising. And I said, Marco, this is amazing that you have this job, yet you're still a well-rounded person. This isn't the focus of your entire life. And when you
Exactly.
start to think, oh, this picture is going to, change my life, or this book is, that's not who we are, right?
Yeah. Mm-mm.
You know,
No, my dad had a PhD, by the way, and I
in
used to
what?
sometimes go, wow, dairy science. He was a chemist. He was a chemist. It was
Wow.
he was a brainiac kind of guy. And every time I would make a fuss over it, because I was always impressed by that, he'd say, just means piled higher and deeper.
Well, my son says something like that too.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, but anyway, I think it's really important to not believe your own PR, your own BS, and also think about the, your younger viewers. We want to think about the influence we have on other people, and some older photographers might say they want to think about how they're going to be remembered. I'd rather have someone say, and I posted some videos of me exercising after my ankle surgery, and people said, Rick, you're such an inspiration. Let me tell you, I'd rather hear that than that's the most amazing picture I've ever seen in my life.
Right, right. Yeah, I know. I know. And I mean, there are times when we do get really busy, and like I feel bad because sometimes I just get so crazy I don't have time for certain things, but I try to always respond to everyone. And I always try and think of how is what I'm doing of service to someone else, even if it's just inspiration or something. Otherwise, it just kind of isn't worth doing, I don't think.
Well, that's why you're so successful. You give of yourself, and then all the other stuff comes after, right? The
Yeah,
finances and the success. But I think being a giving, Scott Kelby is a very giving person. I did a workshop with him in China. This guy stayed up late at night helping people, doing this, teaching them Adobe
he's
Spark.
amazing.
No, he is such a nice guy. I don't
Uh,
think there's, my philosophy is probably probably not true, but I don't want one person on the planet saying one thing bad about me. And I think I've never heard one person say anything negative about Scott. He's just such a positive person. People who aren't
yeah.
on Kelby One, you have some classes there. I have some classes. I highly recommend Kelby One training.
Oh, it's tremendous. I mean, once you're in there, you can just learn so many different things. I was even watching some classes during Photoshop World, and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go learn some more about this, because I was learning things too. Let's
Someone's
see.
saying,
So
Rick, I can't read it because it's small. Can you read it?
It says Rick hands down unlocked my photo creative mental block in 2012. Thanks for that. Been trucking ever since.
Cool.
Isn't that great? I love
Well,
that.
I think being unlocked and being unblocked. Oh, wait, someone saying something about Jacqueline.
Jacqueline Smith appeared on one of your covers of Studio Photography
Yeah,
magazine. Yeah. That's what you were saying.
you know,
But you said something else, which is
I'm listening.
I know I'm trying to frame it in my mind because we were talking about photographing and then and I wanted to grab the thread, and so I'm going to try to assemble it, but it won't be quite right. But it was about photographing what you love, and in the same other hand was the best camera gear that you can have, and it goes back to that conversation where it doesn't matter what camera you use in order to take a good picture and photograph what you love, but when you have the camera you love or that serves your vision, it actually takes it to a new level, because a lot of people get really fixated on what camera should I get, right? And what gear should I have? And it doesn't matter except when it matters. And so that little gap is what I wanted to address with you, and give people kind of a way to think about it, because I still get the question a lot.
Yeah, well, dependability is really, as far as the cameras goes, as an aside, and I've been an explorer of light, camera explorer of light since 2003. The cameras have never let me down. So I think in choosing a camera, you want to look at that. You know, I couldn't find the cover of that magazine, but I have something else I'd like to show you. Some of you viewers may not know this photographer.
It reads backwards on my end. It'll read normal on the video, but read it out loud, what the
Okay,
thing
it's called
says.
The World Is My Studio. When I was the editor of Studio Photography, I interviewed this photographer, Arthur Rodstein. I mean, these guys, Dorothea Lange, whom you know of, these people were real photographers. They were interested in the art and craft of photography. And I think today, you know, people are more interested, some people are more interested in getting followers on social media, building their Instagram account, right? If I put a sunset picture on Instagram, I'm going to get a lot of likes. If I put a picture of someone in India, praying, by a statue of Buddha or whatever, it's not going to get that many likes. So I think we have to follow our heart, again, we'll be happier. Having these followers, Susan, she calls it smoke and mirrors, right? And I think social media is smoke and mirrors to a point. I can't believe I can't find that cover.
Oh, that's so annoying. That's going to bug you all day. You'll have to go on a live just to say, here it is.
No, I have it. It's in this pile of papers because I show it a lot. So
that is, it's all smoke and mirrors. That's what you said. And I wanted to hear what she meant by that.
Oh, well, if someone says they have like 1 million followers, does it, the Kardashians have 1 million followers. How many people really follow them, right? They just. What do they
actually do?
Well, they're skilled at being famous. I'm not putting them down, actually. They're good at what they do. But what I'm saying is, you put something on Twitter. I put something on Twitter, then I wanted to go back, and then like 5 minutes, it was like 37, posts down. Who's going to see all this stuff? So
exactly.
So I think to an extent, I should qualify that, as my son would tell me, because he's into data and statistics. To an extent, it's smoke and mirrors. Right.
So Cameron put the link to your blog post about So You Don't Have Time. So people can, if you want to check out.
Someone did that? Oh, yeah. So that's the picture. That's the picture of.
That's my assistant in Scotland.
Oh man, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's really nice. Thanks, Cameron. Appreciate that. So I don't want to keep you longer. I like to try to keep these at an hour to respect everybody's time. But what I would love is if anybody else has any questions for Rick or for myself, I always tend to have us both answer whatever questions you post. These have been really good comments and questions so far, and so thank you for that. So while they're thinking about what they might want to post, Rick, what would be, if you were like, do you have one last thing you'd like to tell people or leave them with one thought? What would it be?
Well, I think it would have been, it's never too late to be who you could have been. But since I used that one already, it might be never give up. I have, as you said, 43 books. I would say most of them were rejected at one point or another. Timing is so important. Just a quick, do I have time for a quick story?
Absolutely.
Okay. I had an idea for a series of 3D children's books where the kids would wear the 3D glasses.
Yeah, okay? I love it.
And I know that you said this is backwards, and the pictures would pop off the page, right? So I had the idea. I drive all the way down to National Geographic from Washington, D.C. It was 5 hours. I put on the glasses. I pitched the editor of the book division my idea. He puts on the glasses. He looks at the book and says, this is 20 years ago. He said, Sammon, this is old technology. No one was going to go for this. Well, I never give up. I'm Italian. I never give up. So to to make a long story short, 2 weeks later, Susan and I signed a contract with the Nature Company. You probably can't see it here, but it says Nature Company on the top.
Yep. Yep.
They bought 30,000 copies of 6 books. 30,000 copies of 6 books. Plus, they sent us, Susan and I, they sent us to Tahiti. They sent us to Kenya. They sent us to Bonaire, one of the ABC islands. They sent us to Costa Rica. So they covered all that travel, and they bought 30,000 copies of 6 books. And for your listeners, actually, my last piece of advice is if you want to make money, write a children's books, because for the children's books, the customers are the moms and dads, the aunts and uncles, the brothers, the sisters, the neighbors, right? For a photography book, who's the audience? Photographers.
Right.
So anyway, if I had given up, if I had listened to, well, I won't say his name, the editor of the book division, and he said it was old technology, I might not have this office here, and my son might not have gone to Tufts.
Holy cow! So did they send you to all those countries to take pictures for books, or?
Yes, yeah, to take pictures for the Under the Sea in 3D. We went to Tahiti and to Bonaire. We had a book, Wild Safari in 3D. They sent us to Africa. We have Rainforest in 3D. They sent us to I don't know the Rainforest book here.
So you sold the concept and the idea of the locations, and they bought the concept and sent you to actually get the stuff. Oh my goodness! I never heard that story. That is phenomenal.
No, but if we're running out of time, I have just a nice mellow guitar piece I can play to take us out.
Take us out. Take us out, baby. I'm going to sit back and have this concert. Let's do it.
This will only be a minute or so. So thank you, Karen.
I love it.
You're the best. Thank you for all the comments. Really appreciate them. And here we go. So you could just cut me off whenever. It'll be about less than a minute.
So beautiful, and so are you. I love you. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, Karen. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, you will.
At the Karen Hutton Suite.
At the Karen Hutton Suite. And thanks all of you for being here and your beautiful comments. You have a fantastic weekend and week. Love you all. Bye.